This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Brian McMaster, the Executive Chairman of Harvest Minerals. So thank you very much for joining me today. Brian, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Well, this is, of course, the first time we're speaking. I noticed that the headline, you are a high-margin natural fertiliser producer and developer in Brazil. So I wonder if you can start us off on this interview by just introducing the company, giving us the high-level overview about the project and what you have, and really your story, what the company is all about.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in essence, Harvest is an extremely simple business. We have, at the moment, one major asset, which is a project called Arapura, which is a organic natural fertiliser. It's situated in Minas Gerais, which is in roughly the centre of Brazil, and it's also roughly in the centre of one of the largest agronomic belts in Brazil. So we're surrounded by farmers. And our project is akin to a quarry operation. We simply free dig the resource, crush it, and either bag it or put it straight into trucks and sell it to the farmers. And it's a highly profitable, very high gross margin, highly demanded product.
And what is the product that's actually coming out? What is the ore that's coming out of the ground?
Excuse me. Well, I'm not technical, so I'll give you the layman's interpretation of what it is. It's a weathered hermaphrodite, which effectively is the lava from a very old volcano that's been weathered over thousands or even more years, and so all of the impurities that would come through that lava have been diluted, and so what's left is a naturally enriched soil, in effect. Okay. And when we sell it, it has the consistency, and it looks like soil, and it's applied to the crops like a topsoil. So it's just literally sprayed on the top of the crops. But due to the nature of it coming from deep in the bowels of the earth so many years ago, and now being weathered, the chemical composition of the product has these natural organic fertilizer properties, and it's just sort of again, in layman terms, a little bit of a twist of nature that this product acts so effectively on crops.
Okay, so as you say, it's like almost like a topsoil that can be applied, and it's very rich in potassium, phosphorus, calcium, magnesium, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it is, and very importantly, it has no contaminants. So
okay.
A lot of fertilizers have some chlorine and arsenic and things like that, and we have none of those things. So it's a combination of, yes, it's rich in the things that we need, but it's also very deficient in the things that we don't want. Okay. So those two things combined make it a little bit of a perfect storm for an organic fertilizer.
Okay. So can you tell me a bit more about the Arapura mine, the project specifically, and its history? I understand that there's a JORC resource on there, and you actually picked this project up for, well, next to nothing really a few years ago, and you've advanced it now to the point where it's actually producing. So can you tell us a little bit more about the legacy of this project and what you've done to get it to where you are today, and exactly what's going on the ground today?
Yeah, absolutely. So the genesis of all of this was back in about 2010. We decided that we wanted to pursue fertilizer activities, and we actually listed a company in Australia which went on to acquire a potash asset in Spain. And as part of that, we sort of always had in the back of our minds that Brazil was one of the agronomic hotbeds of the planet. It was one of the largest consumers of fertilizer in the world, and that was where we ideally wanted to see ourselves go. So we got hold of another shell, and we went down to Brazil, and we started to look for assets, and we acquired a couple of traditional potash assets, which are very expensive to explore, and they're very expensive to bring to development. But we we picked up a couple of those and started to potter around. And then through those channels, we came across a guy who had this project, and he sort of thought he had something good, but he didn't quite know. And we spent quite a bit of time just exerting some sweat, having a look and seeing whether the project had any any credibility. And we decided that it did. So we did a deal with this guy whereby we decided we'd take on the project and we'd bring it through to fruition. And the consideration was not due until we were successful. And so we effectively picked it up for free, and then continued to work the project. And when we brought it to commercial realisation, we had to pay him $1 million, which we did pay 2 years ago now. And so that all happened in 2015. And so between now and 2015, as you said, we've put a JORC resource in place, so we have a JORC resource of about 30 years, and we have an overall resource that we estimate to be about 100 years. Okay. We've built a processing plant, we've built storage sheds, and most importantly, we've built a customer base. And so we've gone, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, we've gone from sales of 0 up to, at the moment, we're halfway through the calendar year, and our sales have just gone through 120,000 tonnes. And we hit our maiden profitability last year.
The area that you're currently working on is only a very small portion of the total license area that you've got to continue this for 100 years or so.
Yeah, that's right. So we have 2 layers. We have an oxide layer and a hard rock layer. So the oxide layer varies in depth at different parts of the deposit between 8 and 24 metres, and we're working our way through the oxide layer at the moment, and we anticipate that will continue for decades to come. But then following that, and once we're through the oxide layer, we have a hard rock layer, which again, it's exactly the same material. It will just require crushing. So it's just a very small addition to the circuit. So we have literally decades of product, and so the heavy lifting's been done in terms of identifying the resource, identifying the market, penetrating and creating a market. Now we have literally decades of profit generation for no more capex to come.
Okay. So what about the business strategy here then? Of course, you've got the operations, which are currently ongoing, and then what's your route to market? You developed your own actual end user product, is that right? KP Fertil?
Yes, we have. We've developed a brand name called KP Fertil, which is getting quite a fair bit of attention in Brazil, in the circles that we need it to get attention in, i.e. the farmers. The marketing team worked over time. It's KMP being the chemical symbols for the main properties of the fertiliser, and fertile being Brazilian for fertiliser. We didn't break the bank getting PR or getting marketing people to work that out. And I think our go-to at the moment, and our strategy, is to continue to build out our market, get ourselves to capacity with our existing infrastructure, and create surplus cash flow. And from that, we'll have a simple decision tree, and the decision tree will be, can we find projects which offer a better return than our own? And if the answer is yes, we will acquire those projects. And if the answer is no, we'll either return the cash to shareholders through dividend or share buyback. So we have a very wonderful choice looming on the horizon.
So you're very much mine to market then, is that right, at the moment with this project?
Yeah, absolutely. It's as simple as you could possibly imagine it to be. I mean, it is. It's, as I said, it's a quarry, and we have customers literally lining up at the door to take our product. So
okay, excellent. And how is Brazil? What is the jurisdiction like to do business in? Are you finding it fairly straightforward?
Yeah, we've done a lot of business in Brazil for a number of years now, and one of our directors and major shareholders in Harvest is a extremely experienced Brazilian national, and his experiences are, he's a geologist and a lawyer, and he's very well known and very well connected in Brazil in those circles. And Minas Gerais, which is the state that we're in for our mine, literally translated means mining state. I mean, so as a state, they couldn't be any more supportive. As a country, the Brazilian government has made lots of public overtures about the importance of fertiliser self-sufficiency to the country for the future. And they, again, have been very supportive in helping us to develop our products. They've helped us work our way through various channels, and they've greenlighted the project in various ways, just as part of their acceleration of bringing local fertiliser capacity on stream. So we've found the country very, very helpful. We've found that both state and federal governments very, very helpful. The workforce down there is very hardworking, and labour is plentiful, so that's great. The customers love our product, and they've been great to deal with. So, all in all, we certainly couldn't complain about Brazil, that's for sure.
Okay, well, just a final thought then, just on sort of the roadmap going forward. I do notice from a presentation, but it's possibly a little bit older. It goes up to 2021, where it's focus on sales, marketing campaign for coffee, sugarcane, and other crops has been launched, hit 85,000 tonnes in sales. So, I mean, we're obviously further on than that now at this point. You've said there already 120,000 tonnes of sales this year so far. So, I mean, what are the key objectives for the rest of this year? And also, you mentioned about looking at other projects in terms of a bigger picture kind of objective or mission. Can you sort of give the market a bit of an idea of the roadmap and some of the key objectives, key milestones, visions that the company and yourself want to achieve in the next 6 months, but also looking a little bit forward, maybe the next 2 years?
Yeah, sure. I think for the next 6 months, the objective is clear, and that is to complete the year that we're having, and to put the cash in the bank, and to effectively close the circle on everything that we promised shareholders we'd do. I mean, for a few years now, shareholders have been waiting to see us have a really successful year and make profit and be cashed up, and we're on track to do that, and we need to just close that circle and give shareholders the comfort to know that the business model does work, and that the things that we've said that were going to happen have actually happened, and so they can see the sense of that and how that pans out for the future. In terms of the next couple of years, for Arapura itself, obviously we need to continue to do what we're doing this year off into perpetuity. We would really like to see some penetration into markets that balance out the seasonality of the product a little bit, and so that probably includes, as a bellwether, sugar. So we'll see how we go there. And then, as I said earlier, if we can find other projects that meet our metrics of being cheap acquisitions, cheap to bring to market, and they have a ROI which is equal to or better than what we have right now, we'll bring those projects forward. And if we can't find those projects, we'll just continue with what we have, and we'll return cash to shareholders. So we're not going to be silly and do things for the sake of doing things. We've got a cash-generating business, and if we can't find or think of anything better to do with the money, we'll give it back. It's as simple as that.
Okay. Well, Brian McMaster, the Executive Chairman of Harvest Minerals, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.